Hey warriors, you're bleeding time, and you don't even know where the wound is. Right now, as you're watching this, someone just like you lost another day to something they won't even remember next month. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because nobody ever taught them what actually drains a human life. 13 years. That's how much of your existence gets poured into invisible holes. Not dramatic failures, not obvious mistakes, just quiet leaks. The kind that don't make noise. The kind you don't notice until you're 40, 50, 60, looking back and wondering where it all went. Here's what makes this different. We're not talking about the obvious stuff. We're not going to tell you to wake up early or drink more water. We're going deeper. Into the places where your life is disappearing without your permission. The psychological traps, the social patterns, the inherited behaviors you never questioned. Stoicism isn't about enduring pain or suppressing emotion. It's about seeing clearly, about recognizing what's real and what's performance, about understanding that most of what we call life is just reaction, automatic, unconscious, borrowed from people who were also just reacting. This video is a scalpel. Each principle we cover is designed to cut away one layer of the life you didn't choose, the life that was handed to you, the life you've been performing because everyone else is performing it too. Underneath all that, your actual life, the one that's been waiting for you to show up. Like this video, if you're ready to see what you've been avoiding, and if you're ready to stop bleeding time, type this below. I reclaim my time. Number 1. The power of time. Your relationship with time is broken, and it started before you could talk. You were taught to measure life in years, decades, milestones. Graduate at 22, marry by 30, retire at 65. As if your existence is a checklist someone else wrote. Here's what nobody tells you. Linear time is a construction. The way you experience Tuesday isn't the same as how you experience Saturday. An hour in deep focus feels like 15 minutes. An hour in a waiting room feels like 3. Time isn't consistent. Your engagement with it determines its texture. The Stoic understanding is sharper. Time is perception, and perception is controllable. When you're fully present, time expands. When you're fragmented, thinking about yesterday's argument while pretending to work, time collapses into nothing. You lose hours, days, weeks to this fractured state. Not to bad things, just to being nowhere fully. Most people treat time like weather, something happening to them. They say time flies like they're observers. But you're not watching time pass. You're creating the experience of its passage. Every moment you're half present is a moment that vanishes without trace. No memory forms, no meaning accumulates. It just disappears. Consider this. You remember vacations more vividly than regular weeks because you're paying attention. New environment, new experiences, full presence. But your regular life, it blurs because you're on autopilot. Your brain doesn't archive autopilot. It discards it. That's why people hit 40 and feel like 30 happened yesterday. 20 years of autopilot leaves almost no retrievable memory. The real power isn't managing your calendar, it's managing your consciousness. Where is your mind right now? Is it here, or is it rehearsing conversations that haven't happened? Is it building futures that might not come? Is it replaying scenes you can't change? The practice is simple but brutal. Catch yourself leaving. Notice when your mind drifts from what's in front of you. Don't judge it, just notice. Then choose to come back. Do this 50 times a day, 100 times, because every time you return to the present moment, you're actually living. Everything else is just waiting. Think about the last dinner you ate. Can you remember it? The taste, the texture, the temperature. Or did you eat while staring at a screen, thinking about work, planning tomorrow? You consumed calories, but you didn't experience eating. That meal is gone. You can't get it back. Multiply that by 3 meals a day for a year, a decade. That's thousands of experiences you paid for with your time, but never actually had. Time isn't running out. You're just not inhabiting it. You're renting space in moments without ever moving in. And the tragedy isn't that life is short. It's that most people live such a small percentage of the life they're given. The shift happens when you realize that being present isn't a luxury for meditation retreats. It's the difference between experiencing your life and just having it happen near you. You can't slow time down, but you can make it dense, rich, full of actual lived experience instead of vague passages you can't recall. Start now, not with your whole life, just with the next 5 minutes. Be exactly where you are. Feel the chair beneath you. Notice the temperature of the air. Listen to the actual sounds around you. This isn't poetic. This is you showing up to your own existence. This is how you stop bleeding time. Every moment you're fully in is a moment you actually get to keep. Everything else is just gone. Number 2. Health is non-negotiable. Your body is sending you messages you've learned to ignore. That persistent ache in your lower back, the way your energy crashes at 2 p.m. every day, the sleep that never quite feels like enough. You've normalized feeling suboptimal because everyone around you feels suboptimal too. Here's the quiet truth. Most people don't lose their health in one dramatic event. They lease it out slowly. They trade it for conveniences, for saying yes when they mean no, for proving something to people who aren't even paying attention. They treat their body like a machine that should just keep running, regardless of maintenance. The Stoic perspective cuts through the noise. Your body isn't separate from your life. It is the vehicle of your life. Every thought you have, every goal you chase, every relationship you build happens through this physical form. Neglect it, and you're not just risking future problems. You're diminishing your present existence. But here's where it gets real. The health theft isn't obvious. It's not cigarettes or junk food for most people anymore. It's the chronic stress you've accepted as normal. It's the shallow breathing you do all day because your shoulders are permanently tensed. It's the inflammation building silently because you haven't moved your body with intention in months. Your body keeps score even when you're not looking. That deadline you powered through on 4 hours of sleep. Your adrenal system remembers. That argument you swallowed instead of addressing. Your nervous system filed it away. That meal you ate while anxious, barely chewing. Your gut is still processing the impact. Medical research shows something staggering. Chronic stress alone can age your cells faster, compromise your immune system, and shorten your lifespan by years. Not because stress is inherently toxic, but because we never complete the stress cycle. We trigger fight or flight, then sit still. We activate survival mode, then stay there for months. Our bodies are running emergency protocols 24/7, and we wonder why we're exhausted. The reclamation starts with listening, not to health gurus or trending diets, to your actual body. When was the last time you checked in with yourself without an agenda? Ask your body what it needs instead of telling it what it should tolerate. Most people only pay attention when something breaks, but your body has been whispering for years. That tension headache isn't random. It's your body saying you've been clenching your jaw for 8 hours straight. That digestive issue isn't bad luck. It's feedback about stress, food timing, or eating while distracted. That constant fatigue isn't laziness. It's your system begging for recovery. You keep denying it. Here's the practice. Physical check-ins. 3 times a day, stop and scan your body. Where are you holding tension? How's your breathing? Shallow and high, or deep and full? What does your energy actually feel like? Not what you wish it felt like. No fixing, just noticing. Because awareness is the first step to change. Movement isn't about looking a certain way. It's about keeping your biology functional. Your body was designed to move, bend, reach, carry. When you stop using those capacities, you don't just lose fitness. You lose range of motion, bone density, metabolic efficiency. You age faster not because of time, but because of stillness. And sleep, real sleep, not collapse from exhaustion, but intentional rest. Your brain literally cleans itself during deep sleep, flushing out waste products that accumulate during waking hours. Skip that process regularly, and you're not just tired, you're cognitively impaired. Your decision-making suffers, your emotional regulation weakens, you become a lesser version of yourself. The cost of ignoring your health isn't just future you in a hospital bed. It's today, right now, every compromised day where you're functioning at 60%. Every experience dulled because you don't feel well. Every opportunity you can't fully seize because your body won't support it. You can't buy health back. You can only maintain what you have and rebuild what you've lost. Start now, not tomorrow, now. Your body deserves this promise. Comment it now. I honor my body. Number 3, avoid toxic relationships. There are people in your life right now who are slowly erasing you, not with cruelty, not with obvious abuse, with something more insidious. They need you to stay small so they can feel adequate. This isn't about cutting people off or being selfish. This is about recognizing a pattern most people never see: relational energy drain. Some relationships give you energy. They challenge you, support you, see you clearly. Others deplete you. They require you to perform, to shrink, to manage their emotions while neglecting your own. The Stoic approach is ruthlessly clear. Evaluate people by their effect on your character and peace. Not by history, not by obligation, not by guilt, by actual impact. Does this person make you better, or just busier? Do they celebrate your growth, or subtly undermine it? Do they respect your boundaries, or treat them as suggestions? Here's what makes this hard. Toxic relationships rarely announce themselves. They masquerade as normal, as family, as old friendships, as professional necessities. You tolerate them because ending them feels wrong, dramatic, ungrateful. So, you stay, and every interaction costs you a piece of yourself you'll never name but always feel. The signs are quiet. You feel exhausted after spending time with them, even if nothing bad happened. You edit yourself in their presence. What you say, how you say it, what you share. You leave conversations feeling worse about yourself, even if they didn't explicitly criticize you. You dread their calls. You feel relief when plans cancel. Some people drain you through constant crisis. Their life is always on fire, and they need you to be the firefighter. Every conversation is about their drama, their problems, their needs. You become a supporting character in their chaos, and your own life shrinks to make room for theirs. Others drain you through judgment disguised as concern. They question your choices, your goals, your changes. Are you sure about that? That doesn't sound like you. I'm just worried. They frame it as care, but it's control. They need you predictable. Your growth threatens their stagnation. Then there are the energy vampires who take and never reciprocate. They need your time, your attention, your emotional labor. But when you need support, they're busy. They minimize. They change the subject. The relationship only flows one direction, and you're always the source. Here's the psychological reality. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. Not in some mystical way, in a neurological way. Mirror neurons fire when you're around others, syncing your emotions, your behaviors, your thought patterns. Spend enough time with anxious people, and your nervous system learns anxiety. spend time with critical people, and your inner voice becomes critical. The practice isn't about judgment. It's about honest inventory. List the people you interact with regularly. Then ask, after time with this person, do I feel expanded or diminished? Energized or depleted? More like myself or less? The answers tell you everything. Some relationships are salvageable with boundaries. Clear, firm, non-negotiable boundaries. I can't be your therapist. I need our conversations to be balanced. I'm not available for last-minute crises. If they respect these boundaries, there's potential. If they don't, if they guilt you, manipulate you, or violate them repeatedly, you have your answer. Other relationships need distance, not drama, not confrontation, just space. Fewer calls, less availability. Polite but firm decline. You're not obligated to explain yourself. No is a complete sentence. Your peace doesn't need a defense. The hardest truth, some relationships need to end completely, and that's okay. Outgrowing people isn't cruel. It's natural. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to prioritize your mental health over someone else's comfort. You're allowed to leave even if they're not bad enough to justify it. Every hour you spend managing toxic relationships is an hour stolen from building nourishing ones, from being with people who see you, who celebrate you, who make you better just by being near them. Your life is too short for relationships that require you to be less than you are. Number 4. Learn, evolve, adapt. You stopped learning the day you decided you knew enough. Not officially, not consciously, but somewhere along the way, you traded curiosity for certainty. You built a fortress of opinions and called it wisdom. And now you're defending positions you formed 5 years ago with information you haven't updated since. Here's the invisible trap. Stagnation doesn't feel like stagnation. It feels like stability, like finally having things figured out. You've got your routines, your beliefs, your way of seeing the world. It works well enough. Why question it? Why challenge it? Why risk the discomfort of being wrong? Because the world isn't static, and neither are you. The person you were 3 years ago needed different things, understood different truths, had different capacities. If you're still operating from that version of yourself, you're not living, you're rerunning old programming. The Stoic principle is about intellectual humility. What you know is always incomplete, always. The smartest thing you can do is assume your current understanding is just a draft, not truth, not final, just the best you've got with what you know right now. Most people hit a ceiling around 30, not in age, in learning. They stop reading anything that challenges them. They stop exposing themselves to perspectives that contradict their own. They surround themselves with people who think like them, consume media that confirms what they already believe, and mistake this echo chamber for reality. The cost is massive. You become rigid, brittle, unable to adapt when circumstances change. And life will change circumstances, guaranteed. The job market shifts, technology evolves, relationships transform, health issues emerge. If you're still using the same mental models you had a decade ago, you're navigating new terrain with an outdated map. Here's what real learning looks like. It makes you uncomfortable. It challenges assumptions you didn't know you had. It reveals blind spots you've been living inside. True learning isn't about adding information, it's about reorganizing your entire framework. And that process hurts. That's why most people stop doing it. Think about the last time you genuinely changed your mind about something important. Not small preferences, deep beliefs. For most people, it's been years. They've been defending the same positions, repeating the same arguments, seeing the world through the same lens. That's not consistency. That's calcification. The practice is deliberate exposure to difference. Read books that oppose your political views. Listen to podcasts from industries you don't understand. Have conversations with people who've made different life choices, not to adopt their perspective, to stress test your own, to find the weak points in your thinking, to evolve. Evolution isn't about abandoning your values, it's about refining them, about discarding what no longer serves you and integrating what does. About being honest enough to say, I was wrong about that, without your ego collapsing. Your brain is neuroplastic, capable of forming new connections your entire life, but it needs stimulus, new challenges, new patterns, new information. Without that, it doesn't just plateau, it degrades. Cognitive decline isn't just about aging, it's about mental retirement, about stopping the work of growth. Adaptation is survival. Species that couldn't adapt went extinct. Businesses that can't adapt fail. People who can't adapt get left behind, not by others but by reality. The world keeps moving. You either move with it or become irrelevant to your own life. Here's the question that cuts through everything. What belief are you holding that you're afraid to examine? That's your growing edge. That's where your evolution is waiting. Most people avoid that question because the answer threatens their identity. But your identity isn't fixed. It's not fragile. It's fluid, and it can handle the truth. Learning isn't about collecting credentials or impressing people. It's about staying alive mentally, about remaining useful to yourself, about having the tools to handle whatever comes next. Because something will come next, and you'll either be ready or you'll be scrambling with outdated solutions. The moment you think you've figured it out is the moment you stop growing. And the moment you stop growing is the moment you start dying, not physically, but in every way that matters. Stay curious, stay humble, stay learning. Number 5, financial wisdom. You're trading your life energy for money, then wasting that money on things that steal more life energy. The cycle is perfect and perfectly destructive. Financial stress doesn't just limit your options, it reshapes your brain. Studies show that financial anxiety reduces cognitive bandwidth. It literally makes you less capable of good decision-making. You become reactive instead of strategic. You make choices from scarcity instead of abundance, and those choices keep you scarce. Here's the part nobody explains. Money isn't the problem. Your relationship with money is the problem. And that relationship was formed before you could vote, by parents who had their own broken relationship with it, by a culture that equates spending with success, by an economy designed to keep you on a treadmill, earning and spending, never accumulating real security. The Stoic view is simple. Money is a tool, not a goal. It buys freedom, not happiness. The question isn't, how do I make more? It's, how much is enough, and what am I actually buying with my life? Most people have no idea where their money goes. They earn, they spend, they vaguely hope there's something left over. Then they're surprised when there isn't. They're not reckless, they're unconscious. Death by 1,000 small purchases they barely remember making. The real wealth drain isn't the obvious splurges. It's the lifestyle inflation nobody talks about. You get a raise, and suddenly you need the nicer apartment, the better car, the premium subscriptions. Your expenses rise to meet your income, and you're no more secure than you were before. You're just performing at a higher price point. Here's the shift. Every purchase is a trade. You're trading hours of your life, because that's what money represents for that thing. Is it worth it? Not in the abstract. Specifically, is that convenience worth 8 hours of your life? Is that status symbol worth 2 weeks? Is that impulse buy worth the time you spent earning it? Most people never make this connection. They see price tags, not life tags. They think in dollars, not in days. So they trade freely, unconsciously, until they hit 50 and realize they've sold decades for things they don't even own anymore. Financial wisdom starts with 3 questions. What do I actually need? What do I truly value? What am I buying to fill a void that money can't fill? Because if you're honest, most spending is emotional. It's soothing anxiety. It's impressing people. It's trying to buy an identity instead of building one. The practice is simple but confronting. Track everything for 1 month. Every dollar, every transaction. No judgment, just data. Then categorize it. Essentials, values aligned, emotional spending, waste. The categories will shock you. Not because you're bad with money, but because you've been unconscious with it. Debt is borrowed time, literally. When you're in debt, you're committing future hours of your life to past decisions. You're mortgaging tomorrow for yesterday. And the interest isn't just financial, it's psychological. It's the weight you carry, the options you can't take, the risks you can't afford. Building wealth isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. It's about deciding what matters and funding that fully while eliminating what doesn't. It's about creating enough buffer that you're not in survival mode, that you can think clearly, choose freely, say no to things that don't serve you. The goal isn't retirement at 65, it's autonomy now. Enough saved that you're not desperate, not trapped in jobs you hate, not staying in situations because you can't afford to leave. Financial security isn't luxury, it's basic human dignity. Every financial decision is a life decision. You're voting with your dollars for the existence you want. Most people are voting against themselves without realizing it. They're funding stress, funding distraction, funding the very things that drain them. Start treating money like what it actually is, concentrated life force. Spend it accordingly. Stop trading your life for nothing. Commit by typing, "I value my life energy." Number 6. Avoid life-draining habits. You have rituals you've never named, patterns you repeat without questioning, behaviors so automatic you don't even register them anymore, and some of them are quietly destroying you. These aren't the dramatic addictions, not substance abuse or gambling. These are the socially acceptable habits, the ones everyone has, the ones that hide in plain sight because they're normalized. They don't ruin your life overnight. They erode it so slowly you don't notice until the foundation cracks. The Stoic insight is brutal. Most of what you do daily, you do unconsciously. You inherited these patterns from family, from peers, from a culture that profits from your numbness, and you've been performing them so long they feel like you. But they're not you, they're just grooves worn deep. Complaining is a habit. Most people don't realize how much they do it. They narrate their dissatisfaction constantly. The weather, the traffic, the government, their job, their family. It feels like venting, like processing. But complaining without action is just rehearsing victimhood. You're training your brain to scan for problems, to focus on what's wrong, to feel perpetually dissatisfied. The neurological reality: your brain strengthens whatever you practice. Complain for 10 minutes, and you've just done 10 minutes of negativity training. Your neural pathways for dissatisfaction get deeper. Your baseline mood drops, and nothing changes except your capacity to suffer increases. Waiting is a habit, waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right circumstances. You've trained yourself to delay action until conditions are perfect, but perfect never comes, so you wait and wait. And the years pass while you're waiting for a starting gun that doesn't exist. The cost isn't just missed opportunities, it's the identity you build around waiting. You become someone who's always about to start, always preparing, always planning the next phase, but never actually in it. Your life becomes a permanent rehearsal for a show that never opens. Seeking validation is a habit, posting for approval, working for recognition, making decisions based on what others will think. You've outsourced your self-worth to external metrics that shift constantly. Likes, comments, promotions, compliments. Each one gives a hit of validation that fades quickly, leaving you hungry for the next one. The trap is dependency. You can't feel good about yourself without external confirmation. You can't make choices without consensus. You can't exist without an audience. Your entire sense of self becomes contingent on variables you can't control. That's not living, that's performing. And the performance never ends because the applause never satisfies. Numbing is a habit. Not with substances, with busyness, with noise, with constant stimulation. You've trained yourself to avoid silence, avoid stillness, avoid being alone with your thoughts. Because when it gets quiet, uncomfortable things surface. Doubts, regrets, questions you haven't answered. So, you keep the volume up, keep moving, keep consuming, keep distracted. But numbing isn't selective. When you numb discomfort, you numb everything. Joy becomes muted. Presence becomes impossible. You're skimming the surface of your own life because you're afraid to dive deep. And years pass in this shallow state where nothing really touches you. Comparison is a habit, measuring yourself against others constantly. Their success, their appearance, their lifestyle, their timeline. You've turned your life into a competition with people who aren't even competing with you. They're just living, and you're over here keeping score in a game nobody else is playing. The psychology is clear. Comparison guarantees misery. You're always comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You're measuring your chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 15. The math never works. The comparison never satisfies. You just end up feeling inadequate about a life that might actually be exactly right for you. Here's the practice: habit awareness. For 1 week, notice your automatic behaviors. When do you complain? When do you delay? When do you seek validation? When do you numb? When do you compare? Don't change anything yet. Just see it clearly. Because you can't break a habit you don't recognize. And most of your life-draining patterns are invisible to you. They're the water you swim in, the air you breathe, the default setting you've never questioned. Once you see them, you can choose differently. Not perfectly, not immediately, but consciously, one choice at a time. Number 7. Treasure the quiet moments. There's a specific kind of poverty that has nothing to do with money. It's the poverty of presence, of never being fully where you are, of racing through life so fast that you miss the life itself. You've been conditioned to optimize, to maximize, to extract value from every moment. Productive mornings, efficient workdays, quality time that's scheduled and measured. You've turned living into a performance metric, and in doing so, you've lost access to something essential: unstructured existence. The Stoic practice isn't about doing more, it's about being more. Fully inhabiting the moment you're in without agenda, without improvement, without the need for it to be anything other than what it is, just existence, pure, simple, unmonetized, but you've forgotten how. Silence feels uncomfortable, stillness feels like wasting time. Doing nothing triggers anxiety because you've equated your worth with your productivity. So you fill every gap, every pause, every quiet moment gets colonized by something useful. Here's what you're missing. The quiet moments are where integration happens, where your nervous system regulates, where insights surface that can't emerge in the noise, where you actually process the experiences you're accumulating. Without these moments, you're just collecting data you never convert to wisdom. Think about the last time you sat and did absolutely nothing. No phone, no book, no podcast, no task. Just sat with yourself and whatever arose. For most people, it's been months, years. They literally cannot remember the last time they were just present without distraction. The loss is catastrophic. You become alienated from yourself. You don't know what you actually think because you've never given yourself space to think it. You don't know what you feel because you override feelings with activity. You don't know who you are because you're always being who you need to be for the next thing. Quiet moments aren't empty, they're full of the life you've been too busy to notice. The texture of air, the quality of light, the sensation of breathing, the thoughts that bubble up when you stop drowning them out, the emotions that need processing, the creativity that needs space to emerge. Your best ideas don't come during hustle. They come in the shower, on walks, in the space between sleep and waking, when your mind isn't gripping, when you're not trying, when you're just allowing. But you've minimized these moments because they don't look productive. The practice is radical. Protect uselessness, schedule time that has no purpose, no goal, no outcome. Time where you're explicitly not improving anything, not learning, not networking, not optimizing, just being a human animal experiencing existence. This isn't meditation with a timer and an app tracking your streak. This is just sitting on your porch, watching weather, noticing how shadows change, listening to sounds without labeling them, existing without commentary. The resistance will be intense. Your mind will scream that this is wasteful, that you should be doing something, that there's a better use of this time. That's not wisdom. That's conditioning. That's the voice of a culture that needs you productive to profit from you. Quiet moments are where you remember what matters, where the urgent falls away and the important becomes visible, where you reconnect with the part of you that exists beyond roles, beyond achievement, beyond the performance of life. Children know this naturally. They can stare at a bug for 20 minutes, fully absorbed, no agenda, just fascination. Then we train it out of them. We teach them to be busy, to be useful, to measure their worth by their output, and they lose the capacity for pure presence. You can reclaim it, not by adding something, by subtracting everything, by creating space that isn't for anything, by remembering that you're not a productivity machine. You're a conscious being having a temporary human experience. And that experience includes stillness, includes quiet, includes moments that will never make your resume but might save your soul. Stop running, stop filling, stop proving, just be. Even if it's just for 5 minutes today, 5 minutes of pure, undefended, unproductive existence, that's where your life is actually happening. If stillness scares you, it's time to claim it. Type, I embrace stillness. Number 8. The 13-year principle. 13 years. Let that number sit with you. That's 156 months, 4,745 days, over 113,000 hours. Gone. Not to living, not to building, not to loving or creating or experiencing. Just gone. This isn't theoretical. Research into time use patterns shows the average person loses over 13 years to activities that produce zero lasting value. Not rest, not recovery, not genuine leisure, just empty consumption, just patterns repeated without consciousness, just life leaking away through cracks you didn't know existed. Here's the calculation nobody does. If you live to 80, you get about 29,000 days. Subtract 13 years and you're down to about 25,000. But you sleep for roughly 26 years of your life. That's necessary, so we'll keep it. You're now working with about 19,000 waking days. Subtract childhood before you have real autonomy. Let's say the first 15 years. You're down to around 15,000 days of conscious adult life. 15,000 days to build everything that matters. To create your legacy. To have the relationships that define you. To do the work only you can do. to become who you're capable of being. And you're spending 13 years of that, almost 4,000 days, on absolutely nothing of substance. The Stoic reality is unforgiving. You're going to die. Not someday in the abstract future, actually die. And when that moment comes, you won't think about the time you spent in patterns. You'll think about the moments you were fully alive, and you'll wish desperately that you had more of them. But here's the part that gives this weight meaning. Those 13 years aren't gone yet. They're happening right now, today, this week, this month. Every day you continue unconscious patterns is another day added to the total. The question isn't what you've already lost. It's what you're losing right now while you have the power to stop it. Most people hear this and feel overwhelmed. 13 years feels too big to reclaim. So they do nothing. They keep the patterns because changing seems impossible, but you don't reclaim 13 years at once. You reclaim 1 hour, then another, then another. Small decisions compound into different lives. What would you do with 13 extra years? Really think about it. Would you build something, learn something, love someone more fully, travel somewhere, create something that outlives you? Whatever that answer is, that's what you're trading for your current patterns. The transformation starts with radical honesty. Look at your actual life, not the life you tell yourself you're living, not the life you're planning to live someday. Your actual current daily existence. How much of it would you want to remember on your deathbed? How much of it is building towards something that matters to you? For most people, the answer is painful. Maybe 20% of their time goes to things they genuinely value. The other 80%? Obligation, distraction, avoidance, performance, autopilot. That 80% is where the 13 years hide. Here's the practice that changes everything, the deathbed filter. Before you say yes to something, before you spend an hour on something, ask yourself, if I was dying and reviewing my life, would I be glad I spent time on this? Not guilty about saying no, not obligated, genuinely glad. That filter eliminates most of what's stealing your life. The commitments you resent, the activities that numb you, the relationships that drain you, the habits that serve nothing. When you apply this filter honestly, ruthlessly, your life reorganizes around what actually matters. The 13-year principle isn't about perfection. You'll still waste time. You'll still make mistakes. You'll still have days that vanish into nothing. But consciousness changes the ratio. Instead of losing 80%, maybe you lose 40%, then 20, then 10. Every percentage point you reclaim is months of your life returned to you. Months you get to actually live instead of just survive through. Months that become memories instead of blank spaces. You can't stop time. You can't buy more of it. You can't negotiate with mortality, but you can stop wasting what you have. You can start treating your days like the limited resource they are. You can wake up to your own life before it's too late. The 13 years aren't a sentence. They're a warning. And warnings only work if you listen. This is your wake-up call. Make it real by commenting, I reclaim my years. You made it here. That means something. Most people would have clicked away by now, back to the patterns we just dissected. But you stayed. You listened. You let these truths land. That's the first step. Awareness. The second step is what you do next. Here's what we covered. Time isn't neutral. Your body keeps receipts you can't erase. Relationships either feed you or bleed you. Stagnation is a choice disguised as stability. Money represents your actual life energy. Unconscious habits steal years silently. Quiet moments hold what busyness destroys, and 13 years of your life are at stake right now. These aren't abstract ideas. They're not motivational fluff to feel good about for 10 minutes. They're surgical tools, each one designed to cut away something that's been draining you. The question is whether you'll use them. Nothing changes if you just consume this and move on. Change requires action. One decision, one boundary, one pattern broken, one moment reclaimed. Start there. Not with your whole life, with today, with the next hour, with the choice right in front of you. The Stoics didn't philosophize from comfort. They wrote these principles while facing death, exile, and loss. They knew that life is short, and most people waste it. They left us a map, not to happiness, to clarity, to living deliberately instead of defaulting unconsciously. Your 13 years are waiting, not in the future, right now. In the patterns you'll either continue or break. In the awareness you'll either act on or ignore. In the life you'll either reclaim or keep losing. So, here's what I need from you one more time. Hit that like button if this resonated. Drop a comment with which principle hit you hardest. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel because we're just getting started. And most importantly, do something different today. One thing. That's how you take your life back. The clock is running. Make it count. Seal your commitment to change. Drop this final affirmation. I choose my life.